The arrival of Friday marks the beginning of the weekend, and it is a time of great excitement for Celtic fans. These moments repeat every year, but we should never tire of them, as tomorrow, our extraordinary team will once again lift the prestigious Scottish Premiership trophy. This will happen after a match against St. Mirren, if I'm not mistaken. The aim here is to discuss a bit about Wednesday night and the victory in Tory. I received some comments from Brendan Rodgers about certain aspects that emerged after the game, and we'll also take a look at what awaits us tomorrow both at Celtic Park and around the city, considering some references made regarding this. I was quite intrigued by Brendan Rodgers' comments after the game, especially about James Forrest. Perhaps you've seen it circulating online, but a journalist's comment questioned whether Brendan should select James Forrest this weekend so he can score his goal using the term sentimental reasons. At first, Brendan seemed somewhat surprised by this statement, as I believe few expected James Forrest to start this weekend or in the cup final. To be honest, it feels like an artificially created discussion, something that comes up at the end of the season, especially because we have a lead of around 100 points in the Premiership table. If the competition were tighter, there wouldn't actually be discussions about James Forrest scoring his goal. It's just a way to stir up emotion. Nevertheless, Brendan Rodgers made a point to emphasize that it would be wonderful if James managed to score, although it's not a priority. Celtic will not lose any trophies if James Forrest doesn't score, and Brendan is simply pleased with his good performance on the field. He then said something I found quite funny, mentioning that he believed even Aberdeen fans were rooting for James to score in the last match at PDRI. I can't say if this was a joke from the coach, but I doubt it reflects the reality. Nevertheless, I would like to stress that even if you're not fully focused on the rest of today's video, perhaps even a bit sleepy as I speak, this is an important point. James Forrest will score his goal tomorrow. It will be a goal at a crucial moment, and it will come from a penalty. Yes, a penalty will be awarded, and he will be on the field at that time. He will step up with confidence and fool the goalkeeper. This is something that tends to happen on trophy days. I tend to be quite precise with these predictions, so stay tuned. Now, moving on to other aspects of the midweek match, Brendan Rodgers mentioned that Mike Naropski had a good performance playing well on the flanks. He expressed satisfaction with Naropski's performance, but didn't go into much detail. There were no questions about whether Naropski's position or chances of staying at Celtic had been strengthened by his recent displays. Brendan also praised Austin Trusty, noting that he had a solid game. He mentioned that the sun was blinding Trusty's eyes during the first half, something I also noticed with the young Mercado. To clarify quickly, his last name is spelled M-C-A-R-D-L-E. Therefore, it's Mercado, not M-Cardo, if that makes sense. Apologies if this seems overly detailed, but we'll have many years ahead to follow this player's growth, so it's important to get the name right from the start. The coach mentioned that he values young players with personality, and Mercado certainly has that. He also said that Mercado has a bit of boldness. I'm curious to understand what he meant by that. Does he perhaps imply a touch of arrogance? There's certainly confidence and courage in his demeanor. From the beginning, the coach expressed his preference for young players with a strong character, and Mercado clearly demonstrates these traits. There's a sense that he has a certain boldness which might come across as arrogance, but without a doubt it reflects a high level of self-confidence and courage. For a young athlete, developing this mindset is crucial, and Mercado seems to excel in this area. Many fans are becoming quite excited, and one even commented that the highlight of the match was watching Ricardo, whom he compares to a newly formed player from the famous Catalan academy. Another fan pointed out that Ricardo stands out as the most talented from the academy since Kieran Tierney, praising his touches and passes as exceptional. Although there have been criticisms of the academy's performance in recent years, this young talent is seen as a true prospect, and his performance brought joy to the fans. While I would be cautious to suggest moderation, given that he only played 20 minutes, the excitement is understandable. There was something in his performance during the game at Poggi that really caught attention, especially for someone who is just 17 years old. It's refreshing to see a playmaker emerging from the academy, given the recent lack of such talents. Players like Callum McGregor might have shown something similar in their early days, but recently the focus has been more on defenders like Stephen Welsh, Anthony Ralston, and Kieran Tierney, so having a creative player standing out is incredibly Exciting! Returning to the question of defenders, one fan expressed a preference for Rocky over Trusty or Scales, questioning why the coach doesn't use him more often. The fact that Trusty has more playing time is intriguing. Another fan also commented about Narovski, revealing that they didn't expect him to have so few minutes on the field after his recent performances and wishing he would get more chances in the remaining games. There's a clear preference for Narovski over Trusty, who seems hesitant and often opts for backward passes when he should be advancing. The opinion is clear. Narovski displays a more daring style than Trusty, having played more in the recent matches. Personally, I prefer him over Trusty, who seems unsure and often chooses conservative passes when he should be looking to progress the play. I've mentioned before my appreciation for Narovski. I believe he brings more aggression than Trusty, especially in both areas of the field. I understand that as a defender, the focus is often on defensive tasks, but the fact that Narovski scored the opening goal in Tory is worth noting. Apologies, I should have confirmed this earlier. Has Trusty actually scored a goal for the club this season? For clarity's sake, I'm not against Trusty. I don't share the opinion of some who consider him a total failure. As I mentioned earlier this week, I think some of his best performances have come outside Scottish football, particularly in Champions League competitions. However, it's frustrating, as it is for many of you, to see Knox performing well in the recent games we've watched. I remember that last season he came on during the New Year's derby at Celtic Park, a game that ended with a 21 win for us. I recall a player getting injured in that match, but I can't remember if it was Scales or Carter Vickers. However, Knoxky had a notable performance in that game. I know it hasn't been an easy road for him, but as he had a fair chance at the club, I argue that he hasn't. He faced difficulties with injuries, and I'm not sure if the coach fully trusts him. When the coach makes decisions about a player, it seems like those choices are final, which is unfortunate. I hope he gets a chance during preseason to show his potential. I've noticed some comments suggesting that Narovski could be a reliable alternative at right center back when Carter Vickers is unavailable. Let's be honest, Carter Vickers does miss a few games throughout the season. I would support that idea. I think he should remain part of the squad. Even if he's not a regular starter, it's crucial that we see him on the field as he has great potential. There were not many negative aspects in Tory last night, but some of you mentioned Jeff Schlow. I wouldn't be against that idea. I think he should stay in a team. Even if he won't be a regular starter, it's important to see him in some matches as he has potential. There weren't many criticisms about Pittori's performance last time. However, some people mentioned him as a concern. I don't fully understand how they can be worried, considering that he might only have a few opportunities left and is unlikely to start any matches, right? But it's been stated that he is a concern. At first, I valued his performance, but it seemed like he thought things would be simpler until the game against Rangers, where he struggled just like others. That seems to have affected his performance, especially since he hasn't shown the same quality since then. I'm unsure about what the future holds for him in the team. When he arrived, he was quite promising, especially since a player was struggling at the time, and he brought a distinct style to our game. For example, in a match against a renowned German team, he had a notable performance. However, I feel like he has been underperforming in recent weeks. One point we often overlook as fans is that when a player goes from being a regular starter to only coming on in the final minutes, it can be difficult to regain his rhythm. This has been observed with other players who face similar struggles. He doesn't seem to be the same player he was when he arrived. I've formulated an ideal vision for the left back position for next season, which would include resigning a player familiar with the club and who also offers a different style compared to our main player in that position, especially in terms of moving into midfield. If we can't secure this player's return and we're still unclear about that situation, the uncertainty might lead us to believe he won't be part of the team next year. In terms of his playing style and adaptation to midfield, that would be my ideal scenario if we can't get this player, and yes, we're still unclear about the situation that could go in many directions. Over time, the likelihood of him not being here next season seems to be increasing. Therefore, I would prefer that we look for another left back. I'm not sure if I've seen enough from the player to confidently say I'd want him as the backup option. I wouldn't be completely disappointed if we ended up with two players in The left back position, but considering everything including the salaries he would likely demand and his recent performances, I would seek another alternative. I thought of someone like a young athlete who could complement our main left back as a backup, would probably have more chances to play alongside him than he did this season. As I mentioned earlier, we need to manage this player's game time. So something along these lines would be my ideal strategy if we can secure the return of the other player. Regarding his current performance, I'm quite uncertain. Also, there's very little information about another player's injury. The coach has stated that he doesn't want to speculate about it, and we should have more information in the coming days. I believe we will know more later during a press conference. I don't expect to see him on the field against an opponent in the next game, but I hope he returns for the cup final. If that doesn't happen, that could open space for other players to step in and make a difference. Therefore, we're looking forward to the next match where we'll face an opponent at our stadium in our last game of a very calm season in the league. It promises to be an exciting encounter with the stadium packed. After the game, there will be a trophy presentation ceremony. Once again, we can look forward to familiar songs that everyone loves. We always have fun with it. And then, a football match is approaching, followed by the presentation of the Premiership trophy. We'll get involved in classic club songs echoing among the fans such as One More Time and Live It Up. It will surely be a fun experience as always. Thousands of fans are expected to gather in Merchant City and Trongate in Glasgow for the annual title celebration, which some might consider a post-season gathering. Although it may sound direct, it reflects the reality of the moment. It's crucial to recognize that there have been challenges at these events in recent years, especially considering the large number of people consuming alcohol in restricted spaces. While the incidents at these celebrations get a lot of attention, it's important to note that arrests at music events in Glasgow happen regularly and don't receive the same spotlight. However, when it comes to football fans, the topic gains much more traction. Recently, the local authorities made an appeal asking fans to avoid gathering in Merchant City and Trongate tomorrow afternoon. In a brief statement, they expressed a desire for fans of all Glasgow teams to celebrate their achievements. It's almost funny to imagine another Glasgow team achieving success. Anyway, fans, including visitors to the city, were urged to avoid participating in chaotic gatherings in Merchant City and other public areas. These events have led to constant disruptions, causing significant interruptions for the community and local businesses. Damage to buildings and infrastructure consumes public resources that could be better spent on essential services that everyone relies on. It's important to enjoy the trophy day, but it's crucial to show respect for the city and its residents. Let's avoid participating in dangerous and disruptive gatherings in public spaces like Merchant City and Trongate. This request will likely be ignored. It seems that a significant number of individuals are tired of this celebration and might choose to go to the pub or head home, which is perfectly understandable. Many people believe that celebrating is important and will seek fun in their own way. There is a clear divide on this subject on social media, and it's becoming tiresome. The fatigue regarding this celebration is evident, and it seems that choosing to go to the pub or stay home is a perfectly acceptable choice. There's a shared sentiment among many that going out and celebrating is important. However, the large divide online about this subject can be quite exhausting. For me, the message is clear. If someone wants to go out, let them do so responsibly. If they prefer to stay home, that's also perfectly fine. We all support the same team. A recent discussion on this topic was presented in a video from another creator, which I found quite interesting, so I'll avoid going too deep into this. I agree with the perspective raised about the lack of an official event for fans organized by the club, something I often ponder. One possible explanation for this might be the limited time between winning the championship and the trophy day. This year is an exception, but last year, for example, there were only 3 days, and it wouldn't have been appropriate for the club to organize an event before being crowned champions. Additionally, they need to give adequate notice to organize such an event, if that makes sense. Securing a suitable venue could also be a challenge. Imagine if there were an officially sanctioned celebration, perhaps at a central location like Glasgow Green, a spacious area similar to what's done in Transmet. There could be a large stage with performers, possibly including well-known local talents, entertaining the crowd throughout the day, especially in pleasant weather. Drinks would be available, creating a more regulated and controlled environment than simply allowing anyone to show up with whatever they can carry. Food stalls could be set up maybe with grills or various culinary options. The club could even establish temporary shops to sell official merchandise to enthusiastic fans, representing a great opportunity for them. Imagine how wonderful it would be with the revenue benefiting the club. Such an event would project a more positive image. In previous years, attending the Merchant City event when it was at home was enjoyable, but it's true that problems can arise there, often drawing negative media attention. I would suggest considering a more optimistic viewpoint on this matter. Concerning the event in Merchant City, I've experienced it a few times on my trips back home and found it quite enjoyable. Nonetheless, it's true that there are frequently challenges that come up, and it often receives rather critical attention from the media in Scotland. You might not be worried about this at all, and I completely understand if that's the case. Still, I've always wondered why there hasn't been an officially organized event here. Perhaps there have been efforts to arrange it, or maybe it is just not practical. In any case, it appears to be a more favorable option than having the local council advising people to avoid attending an event. Those are merely my reflections. There is a match set for tomorrow, and while we will hear from the coach later today. Regarding the starting lineup, let us assume that both Haitati and Maida, in addition to Cameron Carter-Vickers, will not participate in this game. I predict that Kasper Schmeichel will be the goalkeeper, with a defensive setup comprising Alistair Johnston, Austin Trusty Liam Scales, and Greg Taylor. In midfield, I envision Cal McGregor, Pillow Bernardo, and Ari Engels with Nicholas on the right, Hunjin Yang on the left, and Adam at the forefront of the attack. I expect to see many goals tomorrow. It seems the team is performing exceptionally well right now, if that's a phrase that makes sense. Typically on trophy days, we tend to display our flair, so I'm really looking forward to the match. Hopefully, we can wrap up the league season on a high and more significantly gear up for the crucial game next Saturday against Aberdeen. If you're watching from various parts of the world, enjoy yourselves, whether you're at the stadium or making your way to the event in Merchant City. Just be sure to behave accordingly, especially you, as I remember your antics from the previous year. I will be celebrating with the fantastic members of a supporters club tomorrow, and we will even share a video from that location after the match. Someone will be accompanying me at the pub, so it should be a delightful time. Wishing everyone a wonderful weekend ahead. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. In a surprising twist that has sent ripples through the Scottish football scene, rumors have surfaced suggesting that Luke McCOWAN may already be regretting his high-profile move to Celtic. The former Dundee star, who joined the Glasgow Giants amid high expectations, is reportedly expressing discontent behind closed doors, a development that, if true, could spell trouble for both player and club. But McCOWAN, 26, made the switch to Celtic earlier this season after a standout spell at Dens Park, where he had become a key figure in Tony Docherty's side. The move was seen as a natural step up for a player tipped for international recognition, with Celtic offering the allure of domestic trophies and European nights. Yet sources close to the player now claim that the transition hasn't been as smooth as anticipated. It's understood McCOWAN has struggled to secure regular minutes under Brendan Rodgers, often finding himself on the bench or played out of position. This lack of game time, coupled with the pressure of performing at a club with sky-high expectations, appears to have taken a toll on the midfielder's morale. Some insiders suggest he has confided to teammates that he misses the familiarity and rhythm he enjoyed at Dundee, both on and off the pitch. If these reports are to be believed, it raises serious questions about Celtic's squad management and their approach to integrating domestic talent. McCOWAN is a technically gifted player with a strong work ethic, exactly the type many thought would thrive in green and white. That he may be second-guessing his decision so soon adds fuel to ongoing concerns about the opportunities available to Scottish players in the Old Firm setup. Celtic have yet to comment publicly on the rumor, and McCOWAN himself has made no official statement. Until then, supporters and pundits alike will be left to wonder whether this is just early season frustration or the beginning of a transfer that simply wasn't meant to be. Regardless, this development casts a shadow over what was supposed to be a career-defining move and may force both McCOWAN and Celtic to rethink their plans moving forward. Hello fan, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.